Emirates, Etihad, and Qatar are no doubt the flagship carriers of the Middle East, with eye-catching amenities, young fleets of jumbo jets, along with outstanding, memorable service. These airlines have become known for these and continue to wow customers. However, on the financial side, their situation is not nearly as positive. In fact, Etihad has been losing billions of dollars per year for several years now. In 2016, Etihad announced losses of $1.87 billion, followed by $1.52 billion in 2017 and $1.28 billion in 2018. While Etihad is slowly improving, Qatar and Emirates are headed in the other direction. Qatar Airways reported losses of $69 million in the fiscal year of 2017, which ballooned up to $639 million in the following year. Emirates, who is arguably the pioneer in this space, is faring much better as they are still profitable, but they are also not in a good financial situation. In 2018, they reported a net profit of $237 million, down from $765 million the previous year, a 69% drop. But even with a profit of $765 million, their situation is very concerning as their revenue is almost $30 billion, while their profit margin is a mere 2.5%, creating a very small margin of error. With last year's profits, that number drops to less than 1%. Meanwhile, flagship American and European carriers are doing better than ever before, reporting profits in the billions of dollars. In 2018, Lufthansa was able to pull in 2.8 billion euros or $3.21 billion, reaching almost 10% profit margin. So, what happened to the thriving Middle East airline industry? Well, first of all, Middle Eastern airlines have never been known for operating airlines, but rather building brands, and their success heavily depends on how customers view their brands. As a result, they have to continue offering money-draining services and amenities to their customers regardless of how the industry is doing. Recently, Etihad has eliminated chauffeur and pajama services for business and first-class flyers, and they have been heavily cutting back on their spas and lounges in airports. But without these things, the airline is no longer Etihad. They are just another lean carrier like American Airlines or Delta. By reducing what attracted customers to Etihad in the first place, they are directly reducing their revenue, which leads to even more cutting, and this has created a vicious cycle of trying to upkeep their brand name while reducing many of their offerings, which is simply not possible. This has led Etihad to eliminate many unprofitable routes and reduce their airline orders with Airbus. In fact, they cancelled 42 of their Airbus A350 orders in early 2019. But what caused this vicious cycle in the first place? Well, there's actually a different reason for each company. As for Etihad, they have suffered heavy losses in their investments, upwards of $1 billion. Etihad has been heavily involved in the investing space for a while, but unfortunately, many of their investments have completely collapsed. Two carriers Etihad had invested in have completely ceased operation, including Air Berlin and Jet Airways. And as for the third investment in Alitalia, well, this has just barely been kept afloat. They already declared bankruptcy in 2017, and the only reason they are still alive is because of heavy Italian government involvement. The government has really been trying to protect the 11,000 jobs that Alitalia offers, but this seems to be a sinking cause. As for Qatar, well, they have a bunch of diplomatic issues that have led to a blockade of Qatar. Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the UAE, and Egypt have all blocked Qatar's air travel, shipping, trade routes, and media. So not only can Qatar not fly over these countries, forcing them to create odd flight routes and wasting jet fuel and customers' time, but they cannot provide routes to these countries, which is the main cause for the almost tenfold increase in losses for Qatar Airways. And unfortunately, this issue doesn't seem to be coming to a close anytime soon. And as for Emirates, well, they have been heavily affected by increasing jet fuel prices. Contrary to popular belief, Dubai is not an oil-rich nation, and they have to buy fuel on the open market just like most airlines. And as they operate jumbo jets, just slight increases to fuel prices very negatively affects them. While the crisis faced by each airline is due to a different specific reason, the underlying problem remains the same: very meager profit margins. Their low profit margins have made them prone to even small changes in the market, and that's exactly what has happened. Any company should not be drastically impacted by poor investment performance. And an airline as large as Qatar should not be so dependent on one demographic that they become vastly unprofitable with the loss of that demographic. And for Emirates, it is sad to see that just rising fuel prices can almost make them unprofitable, but this is an inherent flaw with all of their business models. And unfortunately, this issue was going to rise sooner or later. But finally, the last issue with all of these airlines is poor management. A similarity between all of these airlines is that they are government funded and profitability was actually never a goal. Instead, they wanted to create a luxury travel experience in order to paint their countries and cities as luxury travel destinations. As a result, decreasing profits and losses have been largely ignored by the ruling families of these places. As long as tourism was increasing, these countries and cities didn't care about losing money on their airlines as they believed increased tourism would make up for it. It's not until tourism started declining that these countries really started to pay attention and cut back. And what better time to start cutting back than when tourism is already decreasing? Clearly, this further negatively affected the airline's image. If they had reduced costs before tourism started declining, they may have seen less adverse results, but that is the state of these airlines today. Now, I'm not saying that these airlines are going to collapse as these countries and cities are able to fund the losses. However, as you guys can see, from a business perspective, it's not looking that great, and this can't be sustained forever. Consequently, we will see major changes being implemented sooner or later, whether that's increased airfare or further decreased amenities or a combination of both. But unfortunately, taking that away would take away what was so amazing with these Gulf carriers in the first place: better flying experience for the same price. And that is the bleak future of Middle Eastern airlines. But that's just what I think. I personally love these airlines and it saddens me that they are going down this path. So what do you guys think? Make sure to comment that down below. Also, if you guys thought this video did these airlines justice, then make sure to drop a like so that more people can see this video. And subscribe if you would like to see more questions just like this one logically answered. But until then, I'm Hari, and I'll see you guys on the next one.